You've been working hard, grinding every single day, and yet it feels like prosperity is always just out of reach. You've tried everything, worked long hours, made all the right connections, and sacrificed so much of yourself, but something feels like it's blocking you from achieving the success and wealth you deserve. What if I told you there's a secret prayer that could change everything in your life, locking the prosperity that S meant for you? What if I told you that just one prayer, recited with faith, could open doors you never thought possible? This is not just another self-help gimmick. This is a divine prayer that has the power to transform your financial reality and bring peace to your spirit. The Divine Light Prayer is a hidden gem that has been passed down through generations, and it's time you knew about it. But before we dive deeper, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Leave a comment and let me know your location. Let's connect and share this transformative experience together. Now, let's take a moment to set the scene. Imagine being stuck in a place where it feels like you're doing everything right, but nothing seems to work. That's where John was. He had been living this exact cycle for years. Day in and day out, he would work tirelessly, sometimes pulling all-nighters, missing out on family time, and making countless sacrifices. But despite his efforts, he could barely make ends meet. The bills kept piling up, the opportunities seemed elusive, and the fear of never getting ahead started to eat away at him. John was no stranger to hardship. He had spent most of his adult life dealing with financial struggle, and no matter what he tried, he couldn't seem to break free. It was like there was an invisible wall blocking him from the success he saw others achieving so effortlessly. He couldn't understand why he was always stuck in this cycle. He knew he was a hard worker, but it wasn't enough. Something was missing, and that something wasn't tangible. It wasn't a matter of working harder, it was a matter of unlocking something deeper, something unseen. And that's when he heard about the Divine Light Prayer. It was a prayer unlike anything he'd ever encountered. People talked about its mysterious power to unlock prosperity and abundance in a way that no amount of hard work could. It wasn't just about gaining wealth, it was about changing your mindset, aligning yourself with the universe, and inviting divine blessings into your life. At first, John was skeptical. How could a prayer be the answer to his financial struggles? He had spent years relying on his own efforts, only to fall short. But there was something about the prayer's promise that resonated with him. What if there really was something to it? He'd tried everything else, why not give it a shot? One evening, after another long day of frustration and uncertainty, John decided to give it a try. He didn't expect much, but he figured it couldn't hurt. Sitting alone in his room, he closed his eyes and began reciting the words of the prayer. As he spoke, something began to shift inside him. It wasn't immediate, but there was a subtle change. The tension he'd carried in his chest for years seemed to ease. He felt lighter, almost as if he had released a burden he hadn't realized he was carrying. It was as though the prayer had started something inside him, a spark of hope, but that was just the beginning. What John didn't realize was that this prayer would soon open the floodgates of opportunity. Not just in his financial life, but in every area of his existence. As he continued to recite the prayer daily, the changes began to happen. Slowly, but surely, doors began to open. Small opportunities started to appear in his life, and as he embraced them, bigger ones followed. It was as if the universe was finally aligning with his efforts. But there was still something more to be discovered. John wasn't sure what it was, but he knew that the prayer had unlocked a new level of understanding for him. He wasn't just trying to manifest wealth anymore. He was learning how to live in abundance, how to align his thoughts, actions, and desires with the flow of prosperity that was now entering his life. The deeper question now became, how much more could he unlock if he continued on this path? How much more was waiting for him? The journey had only just begun, and little did he know, the Divine Light Prayer would lead him to a level of success and peace that he had once thought was impossible. As John continued with the Divine Light Prayer, something inside him began to change. He started waking up with a different mindset. No longer was he consumed by the weight of his failures or the fear of the future. Instead, there was an unexplainable sense of peace that had settled within him. He no longer felt like he was constantly fighting against the current. The prayer had unlocked something deep inside, something that had been dormant for far too long. It was more than just a prayer. It was an awakening of his own potential. At first, the changes were subtle. A phone call here, a chance encounter there, and opportunities began to flow into his life. He wasn't sure if it was coincidence or the prayer at work, but he felt as though a door had opened, and behind it were endless possibilities. The thing about abundance is that it doesn't just show up in one area of your life. As John started to notice, it flowed into every part of his existence. His relationships improved, his sense of self-worth grew, and, slowly but surely, his financial situation began to shift. But it wasn't just about the material gains. John was no longer stuck in a cycle of worry and frustration. The constant knot in his stomach, the anxiety that kept him awake at night, began to dissipate. He found himself thinking differently about money, success, and life in general. It was as though the Divine Light Prayer had opened his eyes to the bigger picture, showing him that true prosperity wasn't just about financial success, but about peace, contentment, and purpose. One day, as he was reciting the prayer once again, John had a realization. He had been so focused on external success and the job, the money, the status that he had forgotten what prosperity truly meant. Prosperity wasn't about accumulating wealth. It was about living in alignment with his true purpose, with the flow of life, and with the abundance that was available to him all along. The prayer wasn't just unlocking opportunities. It was unlocking his awareness of those opportunities. It was making him see the world through a new lens, one where everything was connected, and everything was part of a greater plan. As the weeks went by, John noticed something even more remarkable happening. The people around him began to change too. His co-workers, friends, and even family started to comment on his newfound energy. They could see it in the way he spoke, the way he carried himself, and even in the way he handled challenges. Where before he would have been overwhelmed by setbacks, now he faced them with calm determination. He had learned to trust the process, to know that if something didn't work out, it was simply because something better was on the horizon. It was as if the prayer had not only changed his external circumstances, but had also transformed his inner strength and resilience. This was the true power of the Divine Light Prayer. It wasn't just about getting what he wanted. It was about becoming the person he was always meant to be. John had always been driven, but now he was driven by purpose and faith, rather than fear and scarcity. He had unlocked a deeper understanding of what it meant to be prosperous, and not just in money, but in spirit, in love, in relationships, and in his ability to give back to the world around him. And yet, as much as John had changed, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to be revealed. There were moments when he felt like he had touched the surface of something even greater, like the prayer had opened a gateway to a reality he had never imagined. He knew that he had only scratched the surface of what was possible. He began to wonder if the prayer had already worked miracles in his life. What else was out there waiting for him? What else could he unlock with just a little more faith, a little more belief? One day, as he sat quietly after his morning prayer, a message appeared on his phone. It was an opportunity for a new job, a position at a company he had dreamed of working for. It was a significant step up from his current position, both in salary and in prestige. John stared at the email for a moment, his heart racing. He had worked hard for years, but this opportunity felt like it was coming at just the right time. When he was ready, he didn't hesitate for long. He knew that this was a sign, a confirmation that his efforts, his faith, and his daily prayers were paying off. He responded to the email immediately, and within a week, he was sitting in an interview for the job of his dreams. As he prepared for the interview, John thought back to the moment he first heard about the Divine Light Prayer. He had been skeptical at first, but now, as he saw the abundance flowing into his life, he couldn't deny that something had shifted. The prayer had changed everything: his mindset, his actions, and ultimately, his reality. He realized that it wasn't just about the material rewards. The prayer had unlocked a deeper level of connection with his own purpose, with the divine energy that surrounded him, and with the flow of life itself. He had learned to trust that the universe was always working in his favor, and that prosperity was his birthright. John's story wasn't over yet. The Divine Light Prayer had opened doors, but it had also opened his heart and mind to a whole new way of living. He had unlocked prosperity, not just in his bank account, but in his soul. And as he moved forward, he knew that the best was yet to come. With faith and trust in the divine flow, he was ready for whatever blessings were waiting for him next. As John continued to recite the Divine Light Prayer daily, the transformations in his life began to reach a level he hadn't imagined. The job offer he had received was just the beginning, but it was the first sign that things were shifting. He had always believed that success was reserved for others, those who were lucky enough or born into the right circumstances. But now, his life was telling a different story. Opportunities were coming from unexpected places, and he was beginning to see the world in a completely new light. The deeper John delved into the prayer, the more he understood its true power. It wasn't just about asking for something and waiting for it to appear. The prayer was about alignment, aligning his thoughts, his energy, and his actions with the abundance that already existed in the universe. It was about opening himself to receiving what he deserved, not just through hard work, but through the grace and flow of life itself. For so long, he had fought against the current, trying to force things to happen, believing that success was something he had to chase relentlessly. But now, he realized that success was not something to chase, it was something to allow. As he walked into his new job, John felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The company was everything he had hoped for: challenging, inspiring, and full of potential for growth. His colleagues were supportive, and for the first time in a long time he felt truly valued. The work was demanding, but it didn't feel like a burden, it felt like a privilege. And with each new task he took on, he found himself growing not only in his career but also in his self-awareness. He was no longer the man he had been before, unsure, stressed, and doubtful. He was stepping into his power, fully embracing the opportunities that had opened up before him. But even as John thrived in his new job, he felt that the prayer was still unlocking deeper levels within him. He had gained financial stability, yes, but the wealth he was now experiencing wasn't just financial. It was spiritual, emotional, and relational. His relationships with his friends and family began to improve. He became more present, more patient, more compassionate. He realized that the prosperity he had longed for wasn't just about the things he could buy or the success he could achieve. It was about creating harmony in every aspect of his life. It was about living in balance. John also noticed that as his life began to flow more smoothly, he started to attract new people into his world. People who were aligned with his newfound energy, who were open-minded, positive, and driven by the same principles of abundance. It was as though the prayer had magnetized him to people who were on the same frequency of positivity and growth. Conversations with his friends became deeper, more meaningful, and he started forming connections that felt more authentic. People started turning to him for advice and guidance, recognizing the changes within him. One evening, after a particularly inspiring conversation with a close friend, John found himself reflecting on just how much had changed in his life. He had been skeptical at first, but now, it was undeniable. The prayer had transformed him in ways he couldn't have imagined. He had unlocked doors that were once closed, not by force or sheer willpower, but by faith. He had trusted the process, believed in something bigger than himself, and allowed himself to receive. That was the key: receiving what was already meant for him. John realized that the prayer wasn't just a tool to manifest success, it was a way to live. It wasn't about making one wish and waiting for the universe to deliver. And as he continued to practice the prayer, he felt more connected to that energy. The Divine Light prayer wasn't just a ritual anymore. It had become part of his life. It was his way of waking up each day with purpose and intention, knowing that every moment was an opportunity to align with the flow of abundance. But even as John embraced this new way of being, there was still a nagging feeling inside him, a feeling that there was even more waiting for him. He had come so far, but it was clear that this journey was far from over. The prayer had unlocked so much already, but he couldn't shake the sense that the universe had even greater things in store for him. It wasn't just about his career, his finances, or his relationships anymore. It was about something deeper, something more profound. The prayer had opened his eyes to a world full of possibilities, and now, he was ready to explore them all. He knew that the next step was to deepen his connection to the prayer and trust that it would guide him even further. The prayer had already brought him to a place of incredible peace and abundance. But John understood that prosperity was not a destination, it was a journey. There was always more to learn, more to experience, and more to discover. The more he aligned with the Divine Light, the more he realized that life was not about seeking the next goal or milestone. It was about being in the moment, trusting the process, and knowing that everything he needed would unfold at the right time. As he closed his eyes that night and recited the prayer once again, John felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the blessings he had received and for those yet to come. He knew that the Divine Light was guiding him every step of the way, and with each passing day, he was unlocking more of his own potential. The journey had just begun, and the possibilities were endless. As John continued his journey with the Divine Light prayer, he began to feel a deeper connection to the energy it invoked. It wasn't just about prosperity anymore, it was about finding peace within himself and witnessing the shifts happening around him. He felt lighter, more centered, and more attuned to the opportunities that seemed to naturally unfold. Yet, despite the progress, he still felt an inner longing. There was more to be unlocked. He knew that true prosperity was not just about material wealth, it was about living in alignment with his higher purpose, a purpose that had been awakened through his faith and connection with the Divine Light. John understood that prosperity wasn't something to chase, it was something you could receive when you were in the right state of mind and spirit. It wasn't just about accumulating wealth, but also about the energy you gave, the love you shared, and the kindness you extended to others. As much as he had grown, there was still so much more waiting for him. He had come far, but deep within, he knew that the Divine Light prayer held even greater secrets for him to uncover. One evening, sitting in his favorite chair by the window, John looked out over the city skyline and felt a deep sense of peace wash over him. His life had transformed in ways he hadn't predicted. The prayer had opened up a whole new world for him. The more he practiced it, the more he understood that it wasn't just about receiving wealth, it was about living a life of purpose, balance, and connection to something much greater than himself. But even with all this growth, there was still a part of him that wanted to invite others into this experience. He had shared the prayer with a few close friends, but now, he felt the urge to offer it to anyone who was ready to unlock the abundance and peace he had found. At that moment, John decided it was time to invite others to join him. He knew the prayer had worked wonders for him, and he wanted others to feel the same transformation. It wasn't just about him, it was about spreading the light, helping others align with their highest selves, and unlocking the prosperity that was available to everyone. So, with a deep breath, he closed his eyes, centered himself, and began to speak aloud, inviting anyone who felt called to join him in this powerful prayer. I invite you now to take a moment with me. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and feel the energy around you. Let go of any doubts, any fear, and just trust that you are worthy of everything the universe has to offer. Together, let's recite the Divine Light prayer, Luz Divina, the secret prayer that unlocks your prosperity. Divine Light, that shines bright and clear, illuminate the path I walk, unveil the abundance that is mine, and unlock the doors that are closed. I am ready to receive the gifts of the universe. I open my heart to your divine energy. May my mind be clear, and my spirit aligned with your light. Guide me to my true purpose. Fill my life with peace and prosperity. Let every step I take be one of faith, and let the light of abundance surround me now." As John recited the prayer, he felt an overwhelming sense of peace flood his heart. It was as though the universe had heard him, acknowledged his intention, and responded in kind. The words of the prayer were more than just a request for prosperity. They were a connection to a higher power, a divine force that wasn't only concerned with wealth, but with unlocking deeper layers of spiritual abundance. Prosperity was not just about the material things you could touch. It was about the peace, love, and harmony that were always present in the world, waiting to be tapped into. After finishing the prayer, John sat quietly for a few moments, allowing the energy of the words to resonate within him. He knew that by reciting the Divine Light prayer with sincerity, he had unlocked another layer of abundance. His focus had shifted. It was no longer just about external circumstances. His inner world had shifted. He had tapped into the divine flow, and everything he needed was now coming to him. A deep sense of gratitude filled John's heart. Gratitude for the prayer, for the transformation it had brought into his life, and for the opportunity to share it with others. He realized that prosperity wasn't something to grasp and hold tightly. It was something that flowed through him and to others. True abundance was about being a vessel for divine light, sharing that light with the world, and trusting that everything would fall into place when he aligned himself with his higher self. John knew that this was just the beginning. The prayer had unlocked so much already, but he was only scratching the surface of what was possible. He felt that the universe had even more in store for him and for everyone who embraced the prayer. It wasn't just about receiving wealth or success. It was about living in harmony with the universe, being at peace with yourself, and trusting that you were exactly where you needed to be. As John sat in silence, reflecting on the prayer, he realized that prosperity wasn't just about asking for something and waiting for it to come. It was about living in alignment with divine energy, trusting that everything you needed was already within you and around you. With that realization, he understood that his journey was far from over. The Divine Light prayer had opened the doors to so much more, and he was ready to continue on his path, sharing the light, receiving the abundance, and living a life of peace and prosperity. John had come a long way since he first began reciting the Divine Light prayer. The transformation in his life had been nothing short of miraculous. Every day he felt more connected to the universe and more at peace with himself. The wealth he had prayed for wasn't just material. It was a wealth of experience, of wisdom, of personal growth. He had unlocked something far more valuable than money. He had unlocked his true potential. But as much as he had accomplished, John knew there was still more to discover. The journey wasn't over. The prayer had shown him that prosperity wasn't just about achieving external success. It was about becoming the person who could receive the blessings that the universe was offering. And with that realization came a deep sense of responsibility. John didn't just want prosperity for himself. He wanted to share it with others. He wanted to spread the light he had found, so that others could experience the same transformation he had gone through. One evening, after another fulfilling day at work, John found himself reflecting on the power of the Divine Light prayer. It had worked wonders in his life, and he knew that it was time to take the next step. He felt a calling to help others unlock their prosperity, to guide them toward the same peace and abundance that he had found. He had always been someone who believed in the power of giving back, and now he felt more than ever that it was his duty to share the prayer with the world. He decided to host a small gathering, inviting a few friends and family members to join him in reciting the prayer. He knew that this was a sacred moment, one that could change their lives just as it had changed his. When the evening came, John stood before the group, filled with gratitude and anticipation. He was about to share the very thing that had transformed his life, and he knew it would have the same profound impact on theirs. As everyone gathered in the living room, John spoke from the heart. He shared his journey, the struggles, the fears, the doubts, and how the Divine Light prayer had been the key to unlocking his true potential. He told them that the prayer wasn't just a way to ask for prosperity. It was a way to align with the universe, to open yourself to the abundance that was already within you. He explained that prosperity wasn't something to be chased, it was something to be received. And with the prayer, they too could experience the transformation that he had. "I invite you all now," John said, his voice steady and full of warmth, "to join me in reciting the Divine Light prayer. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and open your heart. Let the light of the universe flow into you, and trust that you are worthy of all the abundance that is coming your way." The group fell silent as they began to speak the words together, each person connecting to the prayer in their own way. As John spoke the words aloud, he felt the familiar sense of peace wash over him, as though the universe was once again aligning with his intentions. The prayer wasn't just a tool to unlock prosperity, it was a way to connect with the divine energy that flowed through everything. And in that moment, John realized that he was doing more than just helping others. He was creating a ripple effect, sending out waves of positivity, abundance, and light into the world. The energy in the room was palpable. It was as if the air itself had shifted, and everyone present felt the power of the prayer. There was a deep sense of unity, of shared purpose, as they all came together in faith and trust. The prayer had brought them closer not only to their own prosperity but also to each other. It was as if they had unlocked something within themselves, a deeper understanding of their worth, their potential, and their connection to the universe. When the prayer ended, the room was filled with a quiet, reverent silence. John looked around at the faces of his friends and family, and he could see the transformation happening in Altum. There was a sense of calm, of peace, and of clarity that hadn't been there before. They were all different people now, having experienced the power of the prayer together, and John knew that this was just the beginning. The prayer had unlocked something far greater than they could have imagined. As the evening came to a close, John felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had shared the gift of the divine light prayer with those closest to him, and he knew that their lives would never be the same. He had fulfilled his purpose not just by receiving abundance but by giving it away, by helping others unlock their own potential and step into the flow of prosperity. And in doing so, he had created a network of light and abundance that would continue to grow, ripple, and spread far beyond his own circle. John knew that his journey was far from over. The prayer had opened doors he never thought possible. But now he understood that true prosperity wasn't just about receiving, it was about giving. By sharing the prayer, he had multiplied its power, sending out waves of abundance into the world. He had created a ripple effect that would continue to grow, touching the lives of countless others. And he was ready to keep spreading that light, helping others unlock the prosperity that was already within them, just waiting to be discovered. Now, as you read these words, I invite you to join me in reciting the Divine Light Prayer once again. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the light of the universe flow into you. Open your heart to the abundance that is already yours, and trust that you are worthy of all the prosperity coming your way. Let's do this together. I believe in you, and I know that the divine light is ready to unlock all that you deserve. John had come a long way since he first discovered the Divine Light Prayer. The transformation he had experienced was nothing short of remarkable. He was no longer the person he had been, constantly struggling, constantly doubting himself. Now he was a man at peace, a man aligned with the abundant energy of the universe. Prosperity had come to him in ways he had never imagined, not just in his finances, but in his relationships, his sense of purpose, and his overall sense of well-being. But as his life began to unfold in ways he hadn't anticipated, John realized that the true power of the prayer wasn't just in receiving abundance, it was in becoming a conduit for it. He had spent so much of his life focusing on what he lacked, always chasing after success and wealth, believing that happiness would come only once he had everything in place. But the Divine Light Prayer had shown him a different path. It wasn't about constantly seeking, it was about being in alignment with the flow of the universe and trusting that everything he needed was already on its way. True prosperity wasn't about taking, it was about giving, about sharing the light and energy he had unlocked with others. John's journey had taken him to new heights, but now he understood that this wasn't the end. He had unlocked his own potential, and now it was time to help others unlock theirs. His purpose had shifted. It was no longer just about his own prosperity. It was about spreading that prosperity, about helping others discover the abundance that was waiting for them. He couldn't keep the light to himself. It was his duty to share it with the world. One evening, as he reflected on his journey, John had a realization. He had come to understand that prosperity wasn't something you could hoard, it was a force that needed to be shared, a gift that needed to be passed on. He had already shared the Divine Light Prayer with those closest to him, and now he felt compelled to take it further. He wanted to reach as many people as possible, to help them unlock the same peace, abundance, and success he had experienced. John knew that the power of the Divine Light Prayer was in its simplicity. It wasn't just about the words themselves, it was about the intention behind them, the belief in the divine flow, and the willingness to receive what was already available. The prayer was a tool, yes, but it was also a mindset, a way of being, and he wanted everyone to experience that mindset, to experience the profound peace that came with surrendering to the flow of the universe. So, he made a decision. He would create a community, one centered around the Divine Light Prayer, one where people could come together, share their experiences, and support each other on their journey toward prosperity. He would build a space where people could learn not just to recite the prayer, but to live by it, to embody the abundance and peace that came from aligning with the universe. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. John reached out to others who were on a similar path, bringing them together to form a group dedicated to the prayer. They met regularly, sharing their stories, offering support, and praying together, and the results were incredible. More and more people began to experience the transformation that John had. They too unlocked prosperity in their lives, not just in material wealth, but in their emotional and spiritual growth. The community began to grow as more and more people found their way to the prayer. And with each new person who joined, the energy of the group expanded. It was as if a collective consciousness had formed, one that was rooted in abundance, peace, and divine light. The more they shared the prayer, the more they gave to the universe, the more prosperity flowed back to them. It was an endless cycle of light and abundance, and it was beautiful. One evening, as John stood before his group, watching them pray together, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the journey, for the growth, and for the opportunity to share this divine gift with others. He had come full circle. He had unlocked the prosperity he had longed for, not just for himself, but for others as well. And now, he understood the true meaning of abundance. As he closed his eyes and began to recite the prayer once again, John felt the light surrounding him grow even brighter. It wasn't just his own light, it was the light of everyone in the group, everyone who had come together to unlock their true potential. And with that light, he knew that there was no limit to what they could achieve. They were all aligned with the divine flow, and together, they would continue to create a world of prosperity, peace, and abundance. Divine light, that shines bright and clear. Illuminate the path I walk, unveil the abundance that is mine, and unlock the doors that are closed. I am ready to receive the gifts of the universe. I open my heart to your divine energy. May my mind be clear, and my spirit aligned with your light. Guide me to my true purpose. Fill my life with peace and prosperity. Let every step I take be one of faith, and let the light of abundance surround me now. As the prayer resonated within him, John felt the divine light flow through him, filling every part of his being. He knew that this was just the beginning. The journey he had started had only just begun to unfold, and he was ready for whatever came next. The divine light prayer had unlocked his prosperity, but it had also unlocked his purpose, his mission to help others experience the same transformation. And with that, he felt an even greater sense of clarity and purpose. Now, as you read these words, I invite you to take a moment to connect with this divine energy. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the divine light prayer guide you toward the prosperity and peace that you deserve. Trust that everything you need is already on its way. Click the link in the bio to access the secret prayers of the Vatican for prosperity and wealth. Your abundance is waiting. The divine light is ready to unlock everything you've been seeking.